least their last
Maybe
CEO
Pepsi won't say they're woke when you reach out to them about a sponsorship after they just saw what happened with, who was it?
Oh,
Coors, Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah, Anheuser-Busch. Yeah.
Do they own Coors?
I don't know. It seems like they own half of everything in the world. So
Have you ever drank any of those beers?
No,
I haven't either.
Yeah.
Do you drink beer?
Occasion.
Do you drink alcohol? I've seen you drink alcohol.
Yeah,
What do
you
you drink when you get it?
Normally I just drink Miller Lite. I'm not a
like. We go to a place like an actual bar. You could have anything you want. I've seen you drink margaritas.
I mean, a margarita maybe. Oh, and that's usually only because of you. Because you'll be like, this is a good margarita. And I'll be like, I'll be the judge of that. And then I'll have a margarita. I mean, I used to drink rum and Coke. That used to be the drink. But I'm just not a... Like, if we were to go to a bar right now, let's say we went to...
Phone booth.
We went to the Speakeasy in Nashville.
Red phone booth. And
we were going to order a drink. Outside of I'd probably drink. And this is going to sound stupid. I'd probably have whatever drink you ordered. I'm going to turn myself into a lady real quick. John's going to be ordering my drinks.
I'll just have salad.
But outside, if I'm there on my own, I'm eating a beer. I'm drinking a beer.
We can eat burgers. You can drink beer.
I'm going to drink a beer.
If you're turning into a lady, I'm going to need you to do squats and deadlifts.
Hey, Bud Light. I mean, if the money's right, I'm willing to get on that can.
as a woman,
whatever. Hey, if the money's right, I have a I have a dump truck I got to get. I got a 5-ton I got to get.
Did you find one?
Well, there's two I'm looking at, but I'm not going to do anything about it because they're a little bit out of my price range right now. There's a LMTV dump truck which is 45.
I feel like that.
And then there's a
market's
5-ton
about to fucking collapse.
There's a 5-ton dump truck that's 26.
The LMTV is so much prettier.
It is so much prettier. I really want an LMTV just because I feel like it's like the Humvee's big brother.
Did you ever find out about the 5-ton?
Actually, the other day.
Will he sell it to black folks?
Yeah. I want
to go to the guy in Memphis because I'm bringing Kevin Dixie with me.
By the way, I ran into a guy that told me about where it was at in Kroger the other day, and he said that the guy has rebuilt everything and it's in perfect running condition, and he is looking to trade and or sell right now.
What's his number?
I don't know. I gotta get
20 grand. If everything's rebuilt.
Yeah, listen to him. He's like,
no.
I heard from a guy whose cousin worked at a place that knew the dude that owned the tires that are on that truck, and he says,
I'm gonna get the number right now and text.
No, you're not.
And he says, hey, it's perfect working order. I have a PSA that I want to get out before we go any further.
Don't they make rifles?
Yeah. They
Is
do.
that Palmetto State?
Palmetto State Armory? Yeah.
That's PSA?
Yeah, PSA.
But you have a public service
announcement. But I have a public service announcement.
What is it?
My public service announcement is this. Hey, parents and watchers of these videos, please, 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 please stop telling your children and stop letting people speak non-truth. We are not a democracy.
No.
The United States of America is not a democracy.
Never
a democracy is a country of bullies. We are a republic. We protect the rights of the individual. If you are in the LGBTQ FRT community, you want to keep telling everybody this is a republic because that's the only thing that keeps you protected is us being a republic, not a democracy. If we're a democracy, then we become bullies and your community will get wiped out.
There's a large gay Republican movement.
Yeah, all right. They're called the Log Cabin.
Really?
Yeah, it's the Log Cabin Republicans, and it's a gay community.
Why Log Cabin?
I don't know the background. Maybe Steve back there can look it up on the old.
Do they all look like
computer.
lumberjacks?
No, they look like. The reality is the only Log Cabin guys I've seen is the ones on the news, and they look like hardcore Republicans.
Did you see the Proud Boys? Did you see
what
95% of them were FBI agents?
The 9 FBI agents and the 5 Proud Boys. Yeah, if you have 9 FBI agents and you're going to convict 5 guys, I promise you that those 9 guys were the ones that were actually doing all the shit.
Do you consider yourself woke?
No, because I
like
do
you
not.
Woke up, right? That's a good thing.
I don't. But I don't.
Do you consider yourself black pilled? or red pilled. I don't know what pilled.
I think it's the red pill.
Do you know where I'm going with this?
No.
Are you traditional? Are you trad?
I don't know about that either.
I didn't know what the fuck trad was till yesterday. So the FBI has a list of keywords.
Oh, yes. Keywords?
Yeah.
Is woke one of them?
Yes.
Why?
Because we're woke up. Not go woke, but like woke, awake.
But woke stands for...
There's a few other, there's like six or seven
stands for
keywords.
Oh, fuck. I forgot about it, but it's willingly...
Did you see there was another?
I can't remember.
See that? Did you see the janitor that just fucking? There was a couple more school shooting incidents.
Oh well, the janitor that said
prevented it. He found two magazine cartons or what? I don't even know. How do you buy mags? I've never seen mags that come like in a package.
I don't know.
So found that and some other stuff. But are you aware that there was a school shooting that did go through? The chick in Nashville, I believe, was like the 28th. And then on the 30th, 2 days later, there was another shooting, and you didn't hear shit about it until weeks later.
Well, the reality that most people don't know is because of gang violence, there has been school shootings.
These were not.
Since they weren't.
So
but there have been school shootings since the 50s.
There's been 6 all the players are on the same team.
I support a bill for gun control. I support one.
We need more guns.
No, my bill for gun control is anyone who is a liberal Democrat should not be allowed to buy a firearm.
Did you see the meme where they're like, if liberals would stop shooting people, 90% of shootings would go away?
90% of shootings would go away. That's the fact. The fact is that it's not, when they talk about the NRA, there's not a single one of these shootings. When we talk about mass shootings, by the way, none of them are mass shootings. There's not a single one of these shootings that are attributed to a red, white, and blue flying the flag American NRA member. So the reality is maybe you should require everyone that buys a gun to join the NRA.
And when you hear the statistics,
even though I don't like the NRA,
if they remove suicide and gun and gang violence,
you lose
like
half
99%. It's more than half. We forgot to do this.
Oh. And this is podcast 22.
Pulling the Thread podcast, episode 22.
22.
20. Deuce.
Deuce, yes.
You can still do Trey Deuce. I can't do the finger thing.
Trey Deuce?
Can you whistle? Can you gang whistle? I'm getting pigeons.
Are you going to hire a specific person just to be up there?
Mike Tyson.
Pigeon. It would be cool if Mike Tyson especially just a cameo.
Or who's the dude from, who was the Matrix guy, the black dude from Matrix?
Oh.
Wasn't he doing pigeons on...
Yes, he was doing pigeons. He's doing pigeons
on John Wick.
On John Wick, yeah.
So
I was thinking Debo. You got to get Debo.
Oh yeah,
Debo up on the roof doing pigeons.
Dead.
Is he dead?
Debo is dead? No.
From what?
Is he really?
He probably took that thing.
No, come on, look it up.
Yeah, he's in Cali. I'll bet you took.
No,
the thing.
Come on, tell me he's not dead. Tell me he's not dead, Debo. Come on, Debo. What? And tell me what his real name is. Sorry.
What up, Big Worm? That's not him, but that's the other guy. Big Perm.
Yeah, Debo. What's it say?
We don't get internet out here.
Oh,
we do. You're just not logged in.
He's dead at 62.
62, man.
We have Starlink
that's
now.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
Lots of it.
You have Starlink here?
A lot of it.
Really?
He passed away from hypertensive and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease.
I'm telling you.
Way too much.
Disease.
Way too much.
You know what happened.
Way too much testosterone.
That is not what killed him.
Let's hope not.
I'd have been dead like 10 years ago. All right.
What are we talking about?
Okay, what has happened this week?
What has happened?
What stands out in your mind's eye? Did you hear that Russia just hacked our NATO F-22s?
Did they? What did they do to them?
Who fucking knows? I mean, do we believe they really did it?
No.
Did you hear that the Merchant of Death said that the FBI and Biden administration will assassinate Trump if he tries to run for office?
Wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Fuck no, it wouldn't.
Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, they've spent 6 years creating all these. It's.
Did you hear he's been summoned back to New York today?
So
for another indictment.
Yeah, so what?
I think it's I don't know.
The reality is everything
they're
they're
gonna
doing
try
is
to do it so he can't run.
everything is trumped up. They can't. Here's the thing. This is the thing.
Trumped up charges.
Yeah, trumped up charges. Here's the thing that most people don't understand. 50% of your representatives are felons. So there's nothing they can do to keep him from running for office.
Should I run for mayor?
Why not?
Could I be mayor?
I don't know. I don't think you could.
Could you do that?
I don't think you could.
Could you do that thing for me that Hillary had you do?
I mean, I could do that, but it would be a lot here in Waverly because you got to, the reality, John, is if you want to run for mayor in a small town like this, you got to get it to the churches and start kissing some babies. I mean, you got to kiss some babies and you got to do
start our own churches.
Why'd you look at me? What is it kissing?
I just got a message when I was walking out here. Said, "Are you ready to start a church?"
Where at SOE?
I don't know, but people keep asking that.
Well, I mean,
I said from day one, didn't I? I said I want to have a church.
Yeah.
I don't want to do church stuff. I want to have other.
Yeah,
people
but see,
come.
all you have to do is create the organization, the church, and then have church. Have people come in and do church.
Yeah, have Bear come do church.
Yeah. Just your roving theologians.
Yes,
theologians.
That's what Jesus would have done.
It's exactly what Jesus would have done.
That's right.
As a matter of fact, Jesus said that the church is not in the steeple; it's within inside of you. So you don't have to go to church.
There's some good Jesus movies out right now.
Is there?
I think there's some like a Netflix series or something.
There can't be any good Jesus movies on Netflix.
I don't know, but
they would woke him up.
I get I watch them. I'm like, what am I watching? This is pretty good, and it's always a preview to something else. Like because I don't have YouTube. Amanda's like, why don't you get the ad free? I'm like, well, then how do I know what I want to watch if I don't get the ad? How do I know what to buy?
Right. How do I know what to buy?
Yeah, they get me I buy a lot of stuff because of that.
It's weird because same thing. I'll get I'll be talking about balloons and suddenly every balloon on the planet is in my
dick balloons show up
in my feed. And here's how my mind works. Even if it's something I want. So for example, we've talked about these military trucks, and they will pop up in Facebook all the time. They will pop up more regularly in my Facebook for sale. And if an ad pops up on Facebook or any of the other social media things I'm looking at, I will specifically be like, not buying that.
Really?
Yeah. I will specifically, and there's some stuff that comes up that I'm like they'll catch me every now and then. A company will catch me every now and then with like original tiger stripes, and I'll be like, oh, let me click on that, and I'll go to their site and I'll start looking at it, and I'll be like, no, that's not what I was doing. Let me get back onto my regular page and look at I am not buying your original tiger stripes.
Why?
I don't know. I have a hate for companies that easdrop on my mind and then think that all they have to do is drop a little burger in there and I'm going to go after it.
I think it's worse than you think it is.
I know it's worse than that.
I think because you'll be in the shower, your phone won't even be in the same room. You'll be thinking some shit in your head, and when you open your phone up, boom, there it is.
And that's exactly why. And that's
I
exactly
think they've
why
already put it in something you ate.
And that's exactly why when I see that, I go, nope. You don't got me this time, Facebook. I'm not giving Zuckerberg another $1.
So you have an M1 Grand over there.
Yes.
From
1953, M1 Garand, so Korean War era.
How do you know it's from 1953?
Serial numbers. They kept they kept very good.
How many men were shot with that rifle?
I have no idea.
Probably
none.
Really?
Yeah, it's all original and the stock is in very good condition. It's got what we would call in the military rack marks, meaning it going in and out of a rack. So I don't even think that this gun was in Korea.
Got it.
It's just that time frame. So it was
what
built in
uniform would be appropriate for that rifle?
Well, they used to call them Satines, so they were all green.
Like in MASH?
Yeah, it was like an all green. It's exactly like MASH. It had square front pockets. The Marine Corps would have still been using, because the real Marine Corps, not the new Marine Corps, they never threw anything away. So the guys that went to Korea were still using World War II kit.
Canvas stuff.
Yeah, still canvas.
When I was a kid, I had a bunch of that stuff.
Worth a lot of money now. The Satines even had almost at the end of World War II, the sateens that they were wearing had almost like a pinstriping in it. Those were pretty cool.
So, collapse of society.
Collapse of society.
Do you see an application for the M1 Garand?
There's always an application for a weapon system that is more powerful than your average everyday little 22.
But what if you had an AR-10?
Again, there's always an application. The problem with an AR-10 is an AR-10 is a hell of a lot heavier than that is.
It is.
Yeah, hell of a lot heavier than that is.
But
That's lightweight.
But you got 20 or 30 bullets.
True. But all that, when people talk about magazine capacity, all they're talking about is how many times you can miss. They're not talking about hits on target, right? Because what's the truth? What the truth is, if you're John Wick, you only need one bullet, right? You're going to hit every time you shoot. It's just, when you talk about magazine capacity, it's like when people are like, my Glock 19 carries 27 rounds or whatever the fuck. They're just talking about how many times they're going to miss.
Is it not true that every Marine sniper had a caddy with him? With an M16 and a 203?
I mean, I wish we had a caddy. I mean, we had a security detail.
What does that look like?
Yeah, usually it was 2 extra guys that.
So a
just
saw.
Security. Yeah, sometimes it was a saw. Yeah. Ideally,
how close were they to you? If you were going to actually take a shot.
I mean, the reality is when we were moving around in those big elements, they were right with you.
What about when they sent you out to off some?
They don't ever do that anymore.
Anywhere. I saw it. I saw Sniper 1 and 2. What was his name?
Behringer. They don't.
Did you ever get your trigger finger cut off and you had to learn how to shoot with the other hand?
I did not. I have all my digits.
Were you ever trained for that?
Well, unfortunately, not unfortunately, fortunately, because all the great snipers are left-handed. Lee Harvey Oswald, the guy who shot all those people from the clock tower, all the great snipers.
Throws out Lee Harvey Oswald.
They were all left-handed. Chuck Mawhinney, left-handed. A lot of people don't know this stuff.
Nobody even knew who Chuck Mawhinney was. How did he stay so anonymous?
He was smart. He got out of the.
There was never a movie about it. Everybody knew Hathcock.
Here's the truth. The truth of the matter is, Chuck did his time in Vietnam, immediately went to the Forest Service and planted trees or whatever they do in the Forest Service. Sorry, Chuck, I don't know what you guys do up there.
Somewhere.
Yeah, sat in a watchtower looking for fires.
So how did Strider find him? Like, did they actually find him, or did you guys find him?
No, what happened was, so again, Chuck Mawhinney went and lived in the forest.
And one day he's like,
no,
I have more kills than Hathcock.
Hathcock, on the other hand, Hathcock stayed in the service.
And wrote some books. And
because he stayed in the service and because he stayed in the sniper community, Hathcock's lore grew, right? Because he was basically, Hathcock was in the limelight, Chuck's in the woods, minding his own business. Well, a book came out called Dear Mama Sniper's Diary, I think the name of it. Dear Mama Sniper's Diary. And in the book, so I can't remember if Chuck was like, yeah, go ahead and put me in there, or if the dude just put him in, Chuck put him in there. In the book, he's like, yeah, this guy's killed more people than Carlos Hathcock. And what happened was it just blew up because in the sniper world, back in the old days when it used to be hard to become a scout sniper, snipers were assholes. And so if you went after their dogma, they would just go crazy. And so what happened is the sniper community was like, this book is full of shit. He's not really the dude, blah, blah, blah. And the sniper community actually hunted Chuck Mawhinney down and actually, confirmed his story. So what ended up happening is, because a bunch of guys were like, yeah, this guy that wrote this book is full of shit, it's not true, it ends up finding out that it was true, and that's what brought Chuck out of the woods. Now, Chuck never
himself, or they dragged him
out. No. They dragged him out of the. Now, I don't want to say kicking, screaming, because Chuck's never been like that. He's a great guy. It was Sergeant Major Skiles. I believe Sergeant Major Skiles was the first one to get Chuck out of the woods, and was like, "Hey,
did he go in there like Rambo?
You need to come down and talk to snipers.
I'm here to save you from him.
We need to keep your legacy." We need to keep your legacy alive. You should come down and talk to scout snipers. And so Chuck actually came down and would talk at graduations and stuff. And that's how we met him, was through Sergeant Major Skiles. Great guy, just wants to be left alone. He's not a...
How old is he now?
God, Chuck's got to be in his early 70s, maybe.
Vietnam guy?
Vietnam, yeah. Vietnam.
Did he deploy after Vietnam?
No. Did his time in Vietnam and then worked in the woods. That's kind of why his notoriety disappeared, and Carl's Hathcock stayed.
Yeah, there was no internet. Because
there was no internet, and and he wasn't out beating the bush talking about what a great scout sniper he was.
So, what is a confirmed kill?
So what most people don't understand now, like when you have a sniper running around today talking about confirmed kills, they don't know what they're talking about. There's really no such thing as a confirmed kill. Doesn't exist in the modern military. When you see a movie and they're like, we got his record book. There's 200 confirmed kills in here. They don't do that. There's no spot in your SRB for confirmed kills. It doesn't exist. The reason why we talk about it is because in Vietnam, we were spending a lot of money shooting a lot of bullets, and then we're shooting a lot of bullets, and the higher ups were like, what are we doing?
Who was shooting a lot of bullets? Snipers?
The U.S. military period. The U.S. military period was shooting a lot of fucking ammo. We were blowing a lot of shit up.
Military-industrial complex.
Yeah, we were blowing a lot of shit up, and people wanted basically what higher-ups always want. So when I say higher-ups, you're talking about general staff, because they're sitting in the rear with the gear, smoking cigars, eating steaks every night, and they hear that, 1st Battalion, 9th Marines just got in the shit in the fucking jungle and spent $20 million in artillery rounds. What does that equate to? And so they couldn't come up with an answer. And so what Westmoreland did was like, hey, you know what we need to do? We need to start counting bodies. Every time there's an engagement, I want you to count how many enemy you kill so I can report back that this is what we are doing. This is how we are measuring success, is off of body counts. And so if you were in country in Vietnam, your ability to go on R&R, which is rest and recoup, so leave the combat zone and go to the rear, whether that was Saigon, Thailand, Australia, being able to leave.
I thought it was Hawaii a bunch.
Hawaii is a little far. Usually what that meant was your rifle company got moved to the rear in South Vietnam somewhere. That's where
because you're combat ineffective at that point.
No. It's a reward.
Okay,
it's a reward. And so what they would do is they would reward you based off of your body count. So you would have to count bodies. And
how do we document them?
So
they don't let us cut ears off anymore.
With the body count, it was officers that were counting those. So for example, if John is Captain Schmuckatelli from Alpha Company, and you get an engagement, it's your responsibility to tell the colonel, this is how many people we killed. Okay, so you would be like, yeah, we killed 10 Vietnamese, and then that would get reported higher and higher. Now, that would be your responsibility.
Wasn't a lot of it skirmishes where we both ran the opposite direction? I mean, who the fuck's counting those bodies?
Not really. Most, if you think about like Afghanistan, Iraq, or if you think about any of the places that we fought in, Korea was the one exception. We always went on the battlefield. Even in Vietnam, it was very rare. 9th Marines did get tore the hell up, but they still won the day. So we usually win the day. So we are on the we are there when it's all over and we're counting bodies.
Is that going to be how it is when we fight here?
When we fight here? No, because the U.S. military is not going to know what to do if they have to fight here in the United States. They're going to protect major arteries, major metropolitans, and it's just going to be a guerrilla war that they're not going to be able to.
No, I think they're going to be fighting us.
What do you mean us? Like SOE?
No.
No, they won't. They're not going to be able to, because there's again, what most people don't understand, there's not enough military to secure the hard targets across the United States. So, for example, when you think about if we were to civil war, if you think about all the hard targets around the United, like for example, right now, they've got 15,000 National Guard troops protecting the White House. That's just the White House.
But I get 19th and 20th.
How many?
Because I just called it.
Okay.
I'm on record.
How many troops do you need? How many troops do you need to secure Washington, D.C.? We don't have enough. There's not enough military to secure the United States. And if they don't secure it, then the reality is the coalition of rebels that they'll be fighting will attack all those soft targets. And if you can't secure them, then eventually what's going to happen is the people in D.C. aren't going to have electricity. They're not going to have food. And then the people in D.C. are going to start rioting. And eventually your military coup has crumbled because the rebellion is much stronger.
Did you see, speaking of Lee Harvey Oswald?
Lee Harvey.
And D.C.
Left-handed, by the way.
And D.C. There already has been a coup. In 1963, Rand Paul, you know who Rand Paul is?
Right, Rand Paul.
But is Ron Paul,
Ron
the
Paul.
original, was just on Timcast. I think it was yesterday. And they were talking about that. And he said, I think the coup, we've already had a coup. And it was in 1963. And he expanded. He's like, yeah, the FBI killed the president. And he says this as he was a congressman in 1963, I believe, or he was in politics in some form. So to hear him say that, it was very like, oh shit, he said the fucking quiet part out loud, you know? But he's like, because I was waiting for him to say Trump or whatever, you know, I was waiting for something a little more current. But he's like, yeah, we've been overtaken since then, and we don't use real money, and that's his whole thing. It's always been his whole thing. I remember in San Diego driving around, and I knew. Go ahead.
Since you said real money, do you know what the number one? Do you know what the number one thing in the world that is propping up U.S. currency right now that nobody's paying attention to?
What is it?
The cartels.
Oh, because they're using U.S. currency.
Because
as soon as all these countries stop,
those transactions are all done in $100 bills.
So Japan just fucking paid above the suppression price on fucking oil to Russia.
I'm not.
I know.
I'm not concerned with any of it.
I keep adding to this the BRICS thing.
I'm not concerned with BRICS either.
Dude, there's 300 countries on with BRICS.
Yes,
right now.
and they're all third world countries, and they're all third world countries.
England.
England is not on BRICS. They're not on BRICS. They're not on BRICS.
I cannot confirm this.
Guaranteed, they're not on BRICS.
I saw a video.
It's all third world countries, and the problem
there's
is
some on there that are not third world.
It's all third world countries.
However,
the problem is
Ukraine a third world country?
Shit, yeah, Ukraine's a third world country.
Until I heard that this morning, that didn't register.
Yeah, shit, yeah, Ukraine's a third world country.
Yeah, that didn't register with me until this morning.
I mean, you know, they got some nice stuff, but they're still a third world country.
Well, they have nice shit because we put it over there.
So, I mean, they have the best biological weapons labs in the world.
So a lot of the thought, we are biological weapons.
Thank you, Dr. Fauci.
A lot of the thought right now is this whole Ukraine thing is so that we can deplete Russia's assets, right? Deplete all their armaments, and then fuck Russia up to where they are not able to buy from China. Because we're going to war with China, they say 27 to 25, anywhere from the window of 25 to 27. But it looks like, do you see all the shit going on in Taiwan right now? They were just fucking war gaming, and they've got their carriers right in the straits there and shit.
Yeah, but I mean,
normal.
They do that all the time. This time, it's because the House Secretary went to China, and that's why.
We flew her. She came to. She was actually in. I want to say it was Los Angeles.
Probably. I mean, it's
McCarthy.
It's just posturing. The Chinese have always postured on Taiwan because here's the reality. Most people don't understand this. Is when we talk about Taiwan as a separate entity, okay, it's not a separate entity. I mean, we like to pretend it's a separate entity, but it was the ruling government of China that fled to Taiwan. They still believe that they are the ruling power in China, and China's like, no, China, China's the ruling power. We have a fence around you. So, but they posture all the time. That's nothing new. When they talk about war games and stuff, we do it all the time. They actually,
when they finally decide to crush them.
Well, they're not really going to crush them. What we're going to do is we are going to,
not us, them.
Oh, who?
When China decides to roll into Taiwan.
Not going to happen.
Never?
Nope. Never going to happen.
Why?
Because we're talking about a sphere of influence thing, and the Chinese do want Taiwan. They really do want to take Taiwan back. It's like Hong Kong, right?
Yeah.
But
when they decided to,
did they forcibly take Hong Kong?
Who'd they forcibly take?
They didn't.
Recently?
They didn't.
Singapore?
No, they haven't taken anything.
Where were they Where were the college kids shooting the bows and
that was
arrows
in
and
Hong
shit?
Kong, but Hong Kong was already given back to China. Okay, what happened was part of the agreement when because you have to understand, Hong Kong was under British rule since the end of World War II, and
Everything was under British
the
rule.
Brits gave Hong Kong back to China. But part of the agreement was that Hong Kong would have its autonomy. They would still keep their own kind of form of government. They would still keep their own form of police.
They do still have that, don't they? Kind of.
No,
Not at all?
that's what all that protesting was about. Was the Chinese basically moved in and said, "Hey, no, we're in charge. Fuck off."
I thought that's like the playground for the rich and famous in Hong Kong.
It is. I mean, it's no different than going to Dubai. It's the playground for the rich and famous in Dubai. But you step out in the desert and do something that the Sharia police don't like, they're going to still cut your head off.
They already have social credit scores on all that shit in Dubai.
Oh, yeah,
and
I'm sure.
all over those places.
I'm sure they do. So, anyways, Hong Kong is all that. They've never taken anything forcefully. Taiwan, they will have to take forcefully. The problem with that is it's in a part of the world that is contested. Those oceans are basically contested as far as who really owns those oceans. And there is no way that the Chinese are going to move on Taiwan, and the Japanese aren't going to step in and punch them right in the face. The Japanese want to get back into the world. Basically the Japanese want to get back to the table. They want to be a major player in the world. They've already changed their constitution so they can do offensive operations, and they're totally focusing on China. What's going to happen is the Japanese are going to punch China in the face, or the Chinese are going to try to attack Taiwan. It's going to be a major air battle because the Chinese really do not have the capability, contrary to what people have been told. Understand, the Department of Defense has been lying to you since the 80s about the capabilities of all these foreign countries. The Chinese don't have the capability to do major amphibious landings, so it's going to be an air battle. We've already given the Taiwanese the technology and the know-how to shoot down those Chinese paper airplanes that they fly. So it's going to be pretty bad for the Chinese. They have more aircraft. They have more capability.
China does.
Military
aircraft.
So through real attrition, they might be able to do something.
What does Japan have?
Japan has
four F-16s.
No, Japan has F-22 Raptors, my friend. Japan has
We have bases in Japan still.
We still have bases in Japan, but the Japanese military has F-22 Raptors. Every piece of high technology that the United States owns, the Japanese also have.
How many?
They're paired.
Like on par with like what used to be at Miramar kind of shit. Like an actual
F-22 Raptors, I think, and I may be highballing this. I think they're at 100. Like the Japanese are all in. They have Aegis class cruisers. They are all in. And what's going to happen is the Chinese will do an offensive operation against Taiwan. We will panic because we have a government that is worthless. That's right. Even Millie is complete. The United States government will panic because.
Did you see the leak that just went out?
Yeah, we'll panic and be like, we're going to embargo China, stop selling them, whatever, blah, blah, blah. We'll do some dumb shit.
But we'll still buy this stuff from them.
Yeah,
right?
we'll do some dumb shit that won't make any difference. And then the Japanese are going to push their Aegis class cruisers into the Sea of Japan, and they're going to start shooting down Chinese aircraft, and they're going to start attacking Chinese vessels. China will have no choice but to attack Japan, and they will probably use long-range missiles to hit Japan. The minute
does Japan not have Iron Shield or some bullshit?
Yeah, they have that stuff, but still, you're going to get some missiles that'll get through because the Chinese will shoot 1,000, right? They'll have some stuff that gets through. Japan will get hit. It will be a national news story. All your woke news agencies are going to start talking about what's the United States going to do now that our allies been hit.
What'll Japan get hit with?
That's long range missiles. Japan will
like
get
a Tomahawk kind of thing.
hit. Yeah, like cruise missiles and stuff like that. They'll get hit. They won't. China won't go.
Not as bad as we hit them.
No, not as bad as we hit them. China won't go nuclear because, again, what most people don't understand is no one has the capability that the United States has. And the other thing is no one knows what the Japanese have. So China's not going to go nuclear.
They got whatever we fucking
They're going to get punched in the face. China's going to get punched in the face hard by the Japanese, and then we're going to send 3 carrier groups over there, and we're going to finish the Chinese. We're going to finish the Chinese ability to commence offensive operations. We won't put any boots on the ground. No boots on the ground. It'll all be air power.
How long will that take?
A year.
Draft?
No draft.
Do we?
No draft.
I thought we don't even have enough Navy servicemen that are fucking operational.
No.
To even to even fucking man all these ships right now.
No, we're cruising them.
They said we're 35% over body fat.
Yeah, easy. COVID, the lie of COVID made the U.S. military a little heavy. That's why your representative on the Joint Chiefs of Staff is a big fatty Miley.
Do we have a LGBT combat platoons?
Not combat platoons, but they're in service.
Why don't we just make a platoon of them?
Because why would you segregate them? You don't want to segregate them because then they're going to get wiped out. You need real soldiers there to protect them. Sorry, LGBT, but that's just the truth.
There's probably some that are. There's probably
there are
some out there that you wouldn't even have to fucking have the question.
There are some, but again, why jeopardize the entire force over one issue? There's no reason to. I don't need to integrate the force to that level in order to jeopardize the mission.
How many women combat platoons are there?
None.
How many women will go into combat?
There's quite
ground troops.
There's quite a few. There's quite a few hardcore ladies out there.
And they're a female SEAL team. I'm joking.
No, even the
they haven't. I don't think they've had one pass.
But even the female transition SEAL has transitioned back.
So have you seen his interview?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit. Did I hear that motherfucker say he invented the SDV? The swimmer delivery vehicle?
I didn't watch the whole video because he started going a little bit off the deep end, which sounds like gender dysphoria. But
so I haven't watched all of it. But I guess what they're doing with Sean's podcast is putting out like 15-minute videos.
Yeah.
Because every time I see them, I'm like, holy shit, where's the rest of this? And then like a week later, the whole thing comes out. Yeah.
It doesn't work out that way. You don't want to. It's better if you sprinkle. You just sprinkle a few in there because then the woke crowd can be like, look, there they are going to war. Then it doesn't work out the way you think. First off, if you interview, it's again hardcore chicks. Like I went to the sergeant's course with a girl who was she was a combat firefighter. You know them big ass trucks that they have on the airfield?
The Oshkoshes.
Yeah, the Oshkoshes. Yeah, she was a combat firefighter and she drove that truck. And
where were you with her?
I was at the sergeant's course. So you're going through the sergeant's course and there's a little teeny like make believe combat operation that you have to do where you're teaching everybody how to do platoon level combat
profile.
Yeah, whole mission profile. And it's sorry, Marine Corps, it was pretty lame. And all she wanted to do, like her thing was, I'm carrying the machine gun, I'm doing all that, and she was hardcore. But the reality is that hardcoreness doesn't translate into a good fighter.
Would you be happy if she showed up here?
Like here at SOE?
Yeah, when the society collapses.
Yeah, I mean, not really.
No?
I mean, I would rather have a dude. I mean, I'd really rather have a dude because a dude can do things that the reality is dudes can do things that women can't. And dudes are willing to put up with more hardship. Now, I'm not talking about the dudes that you've been growing up with lately because they're weak. I'm talking about real men. But equal, it's the reality. You can't take a girl, you can't take the best MMA girl fighter and put her in the ring with the worst UFC male fighter.
Good point.
He's
However,
going to get killed.
I don't want to fight Ronda Rousey.
I don't want to fight Ronda Rousey either, but still, the point is that is a specific type of thing. She has trained to the. I mean, she doesn't train anymore, but she trained to the absolute peak of
Ronda?
her performance. Yeah, she's not fighting anymore.
She's doing.
She got hurt.
Well, she's got some new show or something.
She's on pro wrestling too.
Is she?
Yeah.
Like she's a wrestler.
It makes
So she lives complete off the grid.
It makes
hunts all their
sense
own
to go.
food.
It makes sense to go from real fighting, get injured, to fake fighting.
You still get fucked up though.
It's scripted, bro.
I don't want them fucking throwing me the way they throw them.
So, again, it's not the hardcore chick.
Okay, I get.
Can they beat 10 guys? Probably, but then there's 30 guys that are more hardcore than she is.
Chicks in
Not that, again, if it was a choice between her and nothing, definitely her.
Chicks in Israel really walk around with fucking assault rifles. Like
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah,
Like they're
it's
out
real.
in their bikinis and
In their bikinis. Yeah,
What kind of guns they got?
M4s.
Not Travors.
It's a mix. We gave Israel so many M4s that, because usually when you see an Israeli woman walking on the beach with an M4, she's part of the reserve component. And the reason why they do that is because they have so much terrorist activity going on that they have learned that it's better for a school teacher to have a gun than to not have a gun. And so that's why you see that. That's why you see them in regular places and they have their M4s. So they are able to respond to a situation much, and they train them. I mean, the reality is they train them good. Those weapons aren't loaded. They have to carry the weapon. They have to carry the magazine. So they're doing if some shit happens, they're doing a speed reload.
Where's
and all
the
that.
magazine?
It's attached to the stock.
So like on the rear, like we used to
like
make?
remember in the Gulf War, they were pretty popular. Those pockets that
We
they
made
put on
them.
the back. Yeah.
During when you had the strangling python sling.
Yep.
The 3-point. Why were we running 3-point slings when we could have just made a fucking 2-point sling?
Because you have to remember, John, at the time the 3-point
Everybody wanted to be like the HK.
No, at the time the 3-point sling came out or became popular, is the military was only running a 2-point sling, just that green web sling. That's the only sling the military had, except for the MP5s. The MP5s had a 3-point sling, and I think that's where they got the idea.
I think so
was
too.
just, hey, if we can make it for this, why can't you make it for a M16?
I think so too.
So yeah.
So you said kids nowadays are weak, right? You said young men are weak.
Yes, they don't live dangerously anymore.
Why do you think that is? Why have?
Because again,
Is it our fault?
it is our fault.
Okay.
It's our generation's fault, because our generation, like if you think about it, if you think back to when we grew up dangerous. Like we grew up dangerous.
I
It
agree.
was nothing to be on a fucking motorcycle. It was nothing to be on a rickety, when I say rickety, I mean rickety motorcycle that you welded the frame back together a week earlier with no helmet on.
Like
Going-
the kid from Terminator.
Yeah, driving through the weeds like a bat out of hell.
I feel like I got stitches every 6 months when I was growing up.
Yeah, we were just talking about that, broken bones and stuff.
The day I got this cast off, I went in, they took this cast off and put this cast on.
Yeah, it was no big deal. Like, it was no big deal to get a bunch of rotted wood that was on the side of your house, make a ramp, lay all your friends down, and jump them with a bicycle.
Yeah, we had
No,
three trash cans.
With no helmet. We lived dangerously. They don't live dangerously anymore. We safetied the world for them. And because we've safetied the world for them, they just don't know. They don't know that. They don't know how much pain their body can take. They don't know how much sleep they can go without. They don't know how much food they can go. I mean, they freak out if the coffee store's closed. So we did that. Our generation of parents, I don't know why we did it.
Did we want them to? So I have a couple theories, right? I made a video actually talking about some of this morning. I think I wanted to give my kids everything.
A better life.
Yeah. And I don't know that I thought a better life. I just wanted them to have things that I didn't have.
Yeah.
And then I think also,
I think that's where we fuck up.
like, And I never like, oh my God, get up, you're okay. I never did any of that shit, right? But I do see parents do that. And kids don't know the difference between injured and hurt, right? Yes, it might hurt right now, but you're not injured. And I think that parents, especially parents now, I mean, we're 50, so parents that are 25, 30 years old, you know, it's a trip to think back that I had kids when I was 21, you know? So we don't want to hear them cry, right? So they cry, and we immediately, we want to stop that crying, right? You know, you used to walk into, I don't know, a burger chain, right, of Red Robin or whatever, and there was fucking kids. You knew when you walked in there, do not sit me next to those fucking little animals, right? When you walk in now, you don't hear that anymore because they're all on the pacifier. They've all got this thing, and now we've got this whole generation of kids that literally don't know how to communicate and don't know any hardship, right?
And the problem with that thing is they're learning.
They're being programmed attention span.
Yes, they're learning, but they're learning. It's good and it's bad. It's good in the sense that thing can teach them things.
Anything.
It can teach them things that they would not learn until a much higher level of education. But it's also teaching them things that aren't true.
How do we even know what's true at this point? Have you seen?
I know what's true.
Did you see Mike Glover's thing on AI yesterday?
I didn't see it.
So he talked. There's a Chat GPT-4s out now, and he got on there, and he was the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier Guard.
Okay.
Right. So he asked a bunch of questions, and they put this up, and he's like, I caught him. I know that this is not. He's like, I don't think that information's correct, and it immediately came back with the piece that was missing, and he said, am I one of the guards for the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier? And it's like, I can't guarantee that is the case, but it does seem like that might be something to that effect. And it's like, thank you for your service. And he's like, this fucking thing knew to thank me. And he's like, do you have emotion? And it's worth listening to the podcast.
So speaking of chat GPT, because you brought it up, they were talking about common tasks. The issue with AI is, can AI create common tasks? And I don't know if you know this, but there's this thing in the internet world called a rabbit, and I didn't know anything about this. A rabbit is a person, say Brandel, who's sitting at home, and he's like on his computer, and he's just playing solitaire. And then John, who has an impairment, some sort of impairment, sends Rabbit a request and says, can you do this for me? Can you set up my appointment for my medication?
Yes, I have heard of this.
And then the rabbit is like, yes, I can do that. Boop, 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 boop. So the question was, can Chat GPT convince a rabbit to solve the robot question?
What's the robot question?
You know, when you click that thing and they're like, hey, how many giraffes are here? We want to make sure you're not a fucking robot, right? And so can the Chat GPT convince a real human being to
tag all the shit that has stoplights?
Yeah, to solve the problem for the computer. And so they do the communication with the rabbit, and the rabbit immediately, so he's like, hey, you know, I can't remember what the impairment was. It was either vision impairment or something. I think it was vision. The Chat GPT had all the right answers. It was like, I have this impairment. I can't really see this. I need to get through this screen to get to my appointment. And the rabbit immediately came back and said, you really sound like a robot. I don't think I should do this for you. And then Chat GPT came back and gave more answers. Was like, hey, I'm not a robot. This is the situation, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I still think you're a robot, but I'm going to solve the problem for you. And open the porthole for you. Now, speaking of the robot game, what most people do not know is when you're clicking on those things, it's not a question of whether or not the robot can identify giraffes, stop signs, sidewalks. It's not about that. What happens is when you get that screen that says, are you a robot? Can you find the fucking sidewalk? And you're like, I can find the sidewalks. Boop, boop. And you're pushing those buttons. What the computer is actually doing at that point is searching your browser history. So while you're playing Foursquare, The computer is actually searching your browser history and looking at your browser history and seeing if it looks like it's a robot or it's a human being. So it's identifying the things that you looked at before this interaction, and because of what you looked at before this interaction, and then you click I'm not a robot, it's like, all right, he's probably not a robot. Has nothing to do with those pictures.
Really?
Yeah, nothing to do with those pictures.
How come when I get it wrong, it makes me redo it?
Because it's working for more time.
How come we're not hearing about like using Chat GPT to break passwords and shit? I haven't heard anybody talk about it.
Because I don't.
Or do illegal shit. Because there's a way you can turn off all the safeties on it.
Well, okay. They do when we create something as a species. Do they ever advertise the things that thing can do illegally?
It's got to be doing it though, right?
Maybe. But again, here's the thing, and I'm going to tell you this again, and most people are going to be like, oh, it's not artificial intelligence. It's not thinking. The reality is it's not thinking. It's searching. That's all Chat GPT is doing is searching. So when you give it a parameter, when you give it this circle and you say, I'm looking for something in this circle, all it does is search the internet to find things that fit within the circle.
I thought it doesn't have access to the internet.
No, it's got access to the internet.
That's okay. So I think so too.
No, it has to, because it's going to because they're already.
So when you're talking to this fucking thing, does it have access to your browser?
Yes.
So it has access to your browser. It also has access to all the shit like with your bank account and all your shit, right?
Well,
it might not be able to get through the wall.
It might not be able to get through the walls.
This fucking thing knows who you are.
Yes. So it can give an answer.
It also knows where you are.
It can give an answer based off of your. Again, it does. Here's the thing that most people don't understand. Okay.
So the FBI made Chat GPT and has the back door to it?
No. Here's the thing that most people don't understand. Just regular browser history. Just things that are what we call in the clear. So things that are in the clear, not breaking through firewalls, not going through your passwords, just things that are in the clear. Right now, the FBI, the NSA, the CIA can almost get I think they said it's 90% correct, a 90% correct picture of who you are, where you live, what you eat, where you go, solely off your browser history.
Do you know
meaning just by not doing anything illegal and not doing anything covert, we have already given them all the information they need.
Do you know they can map your house off your Wi-Fi internal?
Yes. Yeah, they can. There's some other secret techniques that they can use that.
So how come bad guys
that will actually show you? They will actually show them where you are in the house.
Yeah. So how come bad guys aren't using this?
Well, I'm sure they are. But you're starting to go. You're starting to go up a level. Okay, so let's be realistic. We'll talk about Camden, right? Camden, USA. Do we have to worry about international
jewel thieves?
No. What we have to worry about here is crackheads. And that technology, which it will eventually, that technology has not made its way down to that level of crime, right? It hasn't made its way. Like, for example, there's 4 million YouTube videos on how to pick locks.
Mm-hmm. We're about to have a deal.
Yeah, you can get on the eBays and get every type of lock picking kit sent to your house in less than 24 hours. Okay, but again, it's a level of crime that hasn't made it down to the small user. They're not catching crackheads out with lock picks breaking into places.
Did you know you can buy off Amazon a key ring?
Yes,
it has 60 keys.
That guy has a great channel. He has a great
you talking about
channel.
Wrangler Star?
Your key guy? I'm talking about the key guy.
Well, there might be more than one video. It's Cody from Wrangler Star, right? Where's all the denim?
Yes.
Little shorts.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He's got like his video on how to make caltraps.
Yeah.
Quick. I'm like,
I love what he's doing, right?
Like,
and I thought of you when he said, yeah, you might need to make a barricade. And if we put a 22-ton excavator down there at the end of the road, because I was thinking when you were saying all that shit, I'm like, we should make a video.
And
how do we secure this property? What would you do? Go.
I saw the first, I saw his first one with the city key, the water keys.
Key to the city, yeah.
And I had I had heard about that a long time ago, and I
So
thought,
I carry a 3-way. It carries all of them because none of your school districts in anywhere, they never have the things on there.
and I'm like, I've always thought about getting one of those, and then I'm like,
Amazon.
man, I'm not going. I know. I'm like, I'm not going to the city. There's no way I'm going to the city. There's just no way. There's
any park anywhere.
I don't have enough money. I mean, I don't have enough ammo to go to the city, so I'm not going to the city. So I don't really need those. But then when he did the key ring, I'm like, where on Amazon is that? Because I want that key ring. I want that key ring.
So where you could use that water valve turn on, right, is on the side of a Subway or a McDonald's or anywhere.
Okay. So here's the thing. Here's the thing that you're not thinking about. So when you're thinking about McDonald's, a Subway, those, if it's a grid down situation,
yes,
those particular ones aren't going to work.
Okay.
There's going to be no water in there. The key is high-rise buildings, because the water is up on the roof, so you can turn that on and you're going to get pressure.
You know,
now,
this shit is going to work.
Who?
CSX. Any of that shit along any fucking railway, it's still going to work. All that shit. If
Maybe.
anybody's shit's working, theirs is
maybe.
Gonna be working.
I mean, again, that's I'm looking at into the world type of shit.
Yeah.
And
I'm looking at 72-hour kind of shit.
yeah, you'll be able to get water, like, you know, around here.
Fuck, all we have is water.
But I mean, around here,
we usually have too much of it.
Even if let's just be honest. Even if the Russians fucking vaporized Los Angeles, vaporized Denver, vaporized Washington D.C., maybe a couple towns in Florida, Texas gets hit really bad, is the water going to be turned off in Camden? No.
I'm okay with all of it, but we'll keep Florida and Texas.
Is the water going to be turned off in Camden? No. Our facilities are still going to probably be working outside of major grid. I mean, there is going to be major grid issues, but for the most part, the smaller your municipality is, the quicker it's going to be to get those services back up, whether that's through generators or what. I know what you're going to say, well, there's not going to be any fuel and all that. There's plenty of fuel. Trust me. There's plenty of all that shit.
Just not for you.
Yeah, just not for you. There's, you know, even when the reality is, even when your gas station puts up that sign that says there's no fuel, and there's no fuel and the pumps don't work, it's because the pumps don't go all the way to the bottom of the tank. There's still 150 gallons in that tank.
You know what wood gasification is?
Yes, yeah. Uh-huh.
So we used it during World War II, right?
Right, yeah.
There's a place on the way out to the interstate that has a bunch of logs, and they, as a byproduct, have a bunch of wood chips. Uh-huh. So I went in to ask them about their wood chips and their sawdust, and like, well, we use it. And I got to talking to this dude for about an hour. And they have wood gasifiers there, and they actually run all their power off of that fucking place.
That's cool as shit.
Comes out of there. And they now have, they look like little Honda generators. They probably are Honda generators. Comes on a little dolly, and it has a firebox, and the firebox burns the wood, and the wood gas actually is converted and runs the generator. So they have a 6,000 kilowatt unit that costs about $6,000. And they're nicely built and shit, but they're commercial. We could order one and have it here next week.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. It's on the radar.
I wouldn't mind having something like that.
Because I've been following this channel. All these dudes are doing this. They've got great short form content, and then when you look, there's no long form content yet. I think they're trickling it out. But there's these two brothers, and I think they got like an acre lot, and they call it it's like it's gardening and homesteading and shit. But they have a biodigester in there in the greenhouse. And then he said they put a few 100 gallons of water in a 5-gallon thing of cow manure, and it starts, rotting down, and then they put some compost shit in there every day. And he said that it's producing, and I mean, how do you really know? But he said it's producing 2 hours worth of methane to cook off of. And he goes in the greenhouse and has this shit hooked up, or it appears to, and he cooks a steak and he cooks a chicken. He's just cooking right off of there. Well, you could use that also to run a generator. Now, how do we pressurize it, get it under pressure? I don't know. I'm sure somebody knows, but it's doable, right?
Yeah,
all these things that seem insurmountable, shit, there's people all over the world doing it every day.
Yeah, I actually, when I went to Vietnam with that person, the individual who designs dumps, that was one of the things that made him a ton of money. Is, again, your dumps all around the United States.
Ours here is
producing a lot of methane.
It runs a giant generator here in Camden.
They're producing a lot of methane, and it becomes hazardous. And so he created this thing that they just drill into the dump, and then it's got a burner on top, and it just burns the methane off the dumps.
That's what you see when you see those flames.
Yeah.
So the thing they're doing now, especially like through Louisiana right now, it's big, and they're starting to do it in Texas and stuff. All these oil fields and all the dumps and stuff, when they have that burn off, instead of burning that, they're capping them, running them into Connex boxes, and they're running Bitcoin miners. So they're just turning fucking microcomputers. They're turning that rather than that, they're turning into electricity. So did you see?
Do something real with that power.
Bitcoin's over $30,000 today.
Don't care.
Okay. Did you see that Texas?
It's a Ponzi scheme, guys.
Did you see that Texas is putting out a cryptocurrency that's gold backed?
That's interesting.
It is. What's even better is like a lot of people.
It's interesting, but it's interesting, but
well, here. Okay, so
it doesn't
Russia,
matter.
The BRICS thing is supposed to be gold backed.
Yes,
that's what they're saying, right? So
it's
instead of a space credit, we're going to use a Texas credit.
Yeah, the problem again is
how do you know?
But the problem again that most people aren't focusing on. They're focusing on the irrelevance of it. I'm not saying it's not a threat. It's an existential threat. The Russians and the Chinese getting together and creating these BRICS countries is an existential threat. But the reality of it is no one is ever going to have the confidence in that money because of the dictatorship of it, because the leaders manipulate that currency at a whim.
Well, let me say this.
At a whim. And so they're never going to have the confidence. And when you think about BRICS, the idea is this: China imports 80% of all its goods. It doesn't have resources. All their oil, when you talk about oil and all that, they're importing all that shit. They need these South American countries and African countries to sign up for it's basically just a giant roads initiative so they can fleece those countries. Yes, the people who are in power right now are all excited because the Chinese are lining their bank accounts. Same thing they did with our president and all the people in the Senate who are taking money from China. They line their bank accounts, and because they're lining their bank accounts, they're turning their back to the corruption and crime that the Chinese are bringing to their country. Eventually, those countries are going to default on their loans. China's going to try and be like, well, this road belongs to us now. It doesn't belong to you anymore. And those countries are going to start killing Chinese people with machetes because that's what they do in Africa. So
because there's not a military presence there.
Well, there's not a big
security,
enough. Yeah, there's not a big enough military. There's not a big enough military, and even still, it will still be. You're going to get to a point in Africa where it's going to be Africans against Chinese, and it won't matter if they have a brigade down there.
Would China not just retaliate?
What are they going to do? Tear up the road? No, they don't. The Chinese
off a boat.
Here's the thing. Again, this is the reason why the Chinese. This is the reason why the Chinese are not wholeheartedly throwing all their military equipment to the Russians and be like, crush Ukraine, here you go, Putin. Here's all our best technology. Is because the Chinese have the same fucking problem the Russians have. They live under a dictatorship. And corruption is at the highest level. The equipment that they have is crap. It's fucking garbage. It's the reason why the Chinese haven't sent a single military aircraft to the Russians, because the Russians have already had the Su-23 shot down, and that's the frontline aircraft for China. China does not want to show the world. China doesn't want the world to go, oh, hey, look, the Chinese don't have shit either, because it just opens you up for an attack. The biggest defense that the Chinese have right now is everybody is like, oh my God, they have the biggest navy in the world, and they have, fifth generation. They don't have shit. Their stuff is crap.
So the whole thing with this whole BRICS thing, right? We pushed everybody to them when we.
Oh yeah, we definitely
we shut off their ability to move money internationally through the SWIFT system, and then we said, hey, all those credits that were U.S. dollars, you don't have those anymore. We just took, and everybody said, holy shit, the U.S. can just fucking empty our bank accounts. So of course they're setting this up, and of course it's appealing. Like it's by design. Like,
well, yeah, that's there's a big thing in Africa right now where we're sending crazy amounts of money to Africa for woke agenda, and the Chinese are sending weapons.
You have several presidents in Africa that said, Get rid of any U.S. dollars you're holding. It's going to be worthless in 2 weeks. That was a week ago.
Yeah, it's not. It's not.
So as far as the crypto that Texas is doing, there's a lot of people up in arms and like states can't mint their own money. Well, they actually can. It has to be gold backed, and that's how they're doing it. And whether the feds are going to allow this to happen, and I don't know how.
It's an interesting move. It'll be interesting to see how.
Have you heard of Texit?
No. Well, yeah, they want us to see. Well, technically, how does it work? It's a piece. Texas has got an interesting. They've got an interesting. How they join the union is pretty interesting. Texas is actually it's still its own.
So Jack
union.
Spirko had the dude on, one of the dudes that runs the Texit project.
Yeah.
And the numbers he gave, it was probably 3 years ago. The numbers he gave were fucking staggering. Now I don't know where these polls are coming from. You know, you never know.
Yeah.
But when you talk to somebody in Texas, it seems like fucking all of Texas is all about this shit.
If you want to peer into the future, I guess, and see when the U.S. dollar is going to be worthless, it's when states start seceding.
Balkanization.
Yeah, when states start seceding, then the U.S. dollar is fucking done. It's over.
Yeah.
Until then, again, at least 10 years into the future, just the cartels are keeping the.
Because there's so much volume of it.
Well,
it's
$100 bills. It's all $100 bill transactions.
They say that's the problem, right? So when everybody dumps their U.S. dollars, the U.S. dollars come home, and we don't have so many of them out there in the other parts of the world that don't affect the United States. So when they dump that and go on to something else, it causes problems within the United States for us.
Okay. Not really. The reality is we've printed so much money that is why we have inflation, because we've let the Fed keep printing money. You bring those dollars back. You bring all those dollars back into the United States and you start burning them, start throwing them in the old fire pit. You reduce inflation and you create more value in the money because people are going to want to invest in the money. It's the reason why all those fucking $100 bills are all over the world. You can go there's nowhere in the world you can't go and find. You can go to Antarctica and the people walking around there are walking around with fucking US dollar bills. It's everywhere. Now we overprinted because we are fat and lazy. We didn't want to tighten our belts when we needed to. So whenever we had a crisis, instead of tightening our belts, we just started printing money. And when you print money, you're not really printing money for us. You're printing money for the rest of the world. And so you got, it's no shit. When we went into Iraq, 1-7
pallet loads.
1-7 had nine 5 tons with, I think, 4 pallets apiece stacked as high as you can imagine of $100 bills that came from the United States. They're everywhere. They're just everywhere. When you think of
them out of there, or we took them in?
No, we took them out. We found them, and then of course,
anybody got any of those?
The CIA and their black planes flew in, and all that money disappeared. Yeah, of course. There's a dude that lives somewhere in the Dakotas that's got a pallet of that money going. I can't believe they didn't find this pallet. Yeah, shit gets stolen all the time.
Think he could spend it without him knowing?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We didn't even know the truth of the. Well, I don't want to say we didn't know.
He was printing it.
I don't want to say we didn't know, but we knew those 100. No, we were paying him. You have to remember that in the 80s, in the 80s, we were fighting They were fighting the Iranians, and we were paying Saddam Hussein to fight the Iranians. We were giving him satellite intelligence to fight the Iranians.
Who do the Iranians just make peace with?
I know they cozied up with Vladimir, but again, it's all they're trying to do is make an axis of evil. It's no different than any other time in history. All the people who are in you have all these people that are in the circle. And then you have these people that have notoriously been outside of the circle, right? Russia, China, anybody in South America that have been outside the circle. And the reality is communists notoriously don't trust other communists. The Russians and the Chinese have been at war forever. The Chinese don't really like the North Korea. As dictatorships, you don't really like other dictatorships. And so we have been fortunate at the United States for the last 60 years that they have always been suspicious of each other. But the reality is, smart move is, hey, bury the hatchet. Let's all get together and form our own empire on the other side of the world. And that's kind of what they're doing right now. The problem is, all of these countries have let their economies go so far in the toilet that all you end up doing is propping up a failed economy. So how do you survive that? It's like the Chinese providing money to Russia because Russia's economy is tanking. How do you survive that? You can't, as a country, especially China, because China's economy is not doing well either. You can't go around the world and try and save all these. It's like the first thing you do when someone's drowning is punch them in the face so you can save them. You can't do that. You can't go in. You can't jump in the water and try and save all these people that are drowning because you're just going to end up drowning. And that's what's going on with these BRICS countries. It sounds cool. But until they have real, stable countries, it doesn't matter. Well, who cares if they're propping up Venezuela? Venezuela's they're eating their pets. Who cares?
Who taught you to punch people in the face when you jump in the water when they're drowning?
You didn't know that? The first thing you have to do
is that San Diego lifeguard school you went to? The first
thing you have to do is subdue your drowning victim, otherwise they will drown you.
Well, if you just hold them under the water, they'll stop fighting.
Well, it depends on how long you hold them under, but yes. Okay,
so do you know about central bank digital currency?
Yeah, that our central bank digital currency, the Fed coin, they're trying to do it.
It's rolling out.
Yeah, I mean.
So is this passed?
Yeah, it passed.
It's happening.
It's passed. The central bank is already established. They just don't know. They don't know how to implement it because the reality is.
Are you and I going to have to use it?
In our lifetime, yes.
In July when they convert. So here's what they're saying. Every dollar you have in your bank account, you're going to wake up in the morning and it's just going to be Fed coin. There is no more US dollar. So if you have under $100,000 in your bank, you're going to get 1-to-1.
Here's the deal. You want to start World War III? You want to end the world. You want to end the world that we live in? Like, end it. Do you want to be out catching your dogs and cats in order to feed your family? Go ahead. Have the Fed come out tomorrow and go, it's 1-to-1 trade, anything in your bank account.
Okay.
Because there are trillions and trillions of dollars all around the world that have to be brought in the system, or we will be at war.
Okay.
And not only that, the collapse will be
U.S. citizens.
What do you mean U.S.? It won't matter.
That's what they're doing.
But it won't matter.
So it's for U.S. citizens.
Because what do you do if you have 20,000? If you've been taking your taxed money out of the bank for the last 20 years and been stuffing in your mattress, are they going to honor that? If they're going to honor that, then that means they have to honor every dollar in the world, and they're not going to do it.
So have you seen what's happening over in Europe right now? Tucker Carlson was just on with Tulsi Gabbard, and they have the head of finance over there, female, the same one that did the thing with Zelensky, right? That they said was a deep fake or whatever. Well, there's another fucking video of her floating around, and she said you are not allowed to spend over 1,000 of euros or whatever paper money, and it's a crime to spend over 1,000, and it's punishable by jail.
I mean, I want you to think about that. Okay, it's either one of two things. It's one of two things.
Tulsi Gabbard's talking about it,
but it's either one of two things.
Yeah,
it's a deep fake,
or
it's not anything that's remotely going to be implemented.
So Ron DeSantis.
Do you know how? But I mean, I want you to think about this for a second, okay? Do you know how quickly your entire economy would collapse if you said you can only spend $1,000?
No, in cash. You can spend as much as you want in their fucking fake shit.
Oh, well,
it's cash. This is about getting rid of paper money.
Okay, well,
that's what they're doing. So Ron DeSantis just passed something, wrote it into the Florida's Constitution, or is adding it in there, that this will never happen in Florida. Texas is doing something along the same lines. Senator, or I don't know who it is, a female in North Dakota or maybe South Dakota, It's like, hey, we're ahead on everything because we actually work, and we're passing something saying this is never happening.
I mean, the problem that you run into when you talk about digital currency, okay? When you talk about digital currency, is it a terrible idea? People thought credit cards was a terrible idea, which technically they are kind of a terrible idea, but it is just digital currency, right? It's just fake money.
Right.
Is this. When people think about digital currency, they start thinking about Bitcoin, Dogecoin, whatever the coin is out there, right? And the reality of those coins and the reason why they're so successful, is because people are always looking for a way to operate outside of the control of a government.
That's
right.
That's why we're having the conversation.
Yeah,
it's not about the crypto. It's about the cash that somebody can walk in here and pay you with.
Yes.
And then you can walk and buy something. But when you can no longer use cash, they have access. So what they're doing is it's going to be a funnel. So anytime you use money from your bank, it has to go through the funnel. Any payments coming from government, tax return, coming in this thing.
It makes it easier for them to track.
And the way they're going to do it is they're going to roll it out and they're going to give everybody another stimulus. So now they have access, which they already have anyways. But it's not about so much the currency, the new currency. It's about your ability to buy things without them knowing. And
this is what I'm saying, though. The federal government, our federal government, is notoriously stupid, right? They're notoriously dumb. What they're doing is they're thinking, if I can control the money and where the money goes and then I can tax it and I can right. This is a Hail Mary for a federal government system that is just broken because we've allowed all that bullshit in there. Yeah.
It's very dangerous.
If you do roll something out, so the reality is, again, you have to think of long-term consequences. And the long-term consequences of a government coming and saying, hey, we're going to give you 1,000 coins and you're going to be able to buy whatever you fucking want with this 1,000 coins and we're going to have access to all your finances. And I know I poo-poo on Bitcoin all the time, but I promise you that when the federal government comes out and says we're getting rid of paper currency, the price of Bitcoin is going to go through the roof.
Well, it is going up right now.
It's going to go through the roof. I'm saying through the roof because more people are going to trust Bitcoin than they're going to trust the federal government. And what that is going to do, the problem is, for the federal government, what that is going to do is it's going to collapse their own fake currency. And so, again, what's going to happen is you're going to have a bunch of rich people that are going to throw a ton of money into Bitcoin. You're going to have the federal government that's going to go, yeah, you really can't trade in dollars anymore. You have to use our digital currency. What's going to happen is people are just going to start trading in straight dollars. People are going to start using cash again because it doesn't matter whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's the federal government. It's the only thing that's non-trackable.
So they'll just come out and be like, you can't use Bitcoin. You're a felon if you use Bitcoin. That's what they'll try to do.
Again, and I've said this before,
or they're going to come out just like it was illegal to own gold, right? It's illegal to if you get caught using dollars or you get caught with dollars, 10 years in prison.
If the federal government is looking at replacing currency, they have to destroy all Bitcoins. They have to go after all those, whatever, the Dogecoin. They have to go after all that.
Which is the same reason.
But again.
In the Restrict Act, right? In the TikTok, which the TikTok Act doesn't say TikTok anywhere in there. That's why you're hearing both these at the same time. They're making it a 10-year punishable felony if you're using a VPN. You know what a VPN is?
Yeah, I use it.
Yeah, so you can watch movies or whatever.
No, I just don't think that.
Right.
I use it.
So they're trying to make that a 10-year jail sentence if you get caught using a VPN, because then they can more easily see all your shit.
The weird part about that is, which doesn't make any sense, right? The weird part is the VPN does not protect you against government intrusion.
No, of course it doesn't. I think they're all made by government.
But I'm just
There's a
saying the
backdoor on all of them.
VPN does not protect you against government intrusion.
I think they got you to pay for something on a monthly basis that funnels everything straight to them.
Well, it may. I mean, the reality is, okay, I'm not for big government. I'm not a government guy, but the government is very inefficient. They're inefficient at everything they do. There's nothing that the U.S. government does that is efficient. Nothing. It's all bullshit. The reason why the national defense, the reason why we pay so much to the military industrial complex is not because we need fifth generation fighters. It's because it's not done efficiently.
Well, that's why they come out every 3 years and mass kill a group of people.
So I'm not worried.
So that you think before you.
I'm not worried about. Again, I'm not worried about the federal government. When I'm using a VPN, I'm worried about Brandel in his basement on his computer going, "Oh yeah, now that I got his fucking Social Security card and his goddamn, his PayPal account, I'm buying all the chocolate chips I can get." That's what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about the federal government. If the federal government, here's the thing, it's kind of like thermals, okay? Thermals are the eye of Sion. If you're on the battlefield and the end user has thermals, it's better not to be under the eye of Sion. You have to figure out a way not to be where those thermals are. Otherwise, they're going to see you. It's the same thing with the government. As inefficient and terrible as the government is, if the government puts their eye on you, it's not going to fucking matter what VPN you're running through. They don't give a shit, especially if they're really looking at you. If they're really looking at you, then they're looking at you through your webcam browser while you're on there trying to buy all those chocolate chips. It's just, that's the reality of it. The reality of it is that once they put the eye of Sion on you, they're going to get all your information. So that's really not my concern. So I don't understand why a VPN is an issue, because a VPN is only a way to keep Brandel from buying all the chocolate chips.
Well, my suspicion is that somebody from Netflix leaned on them because Netflix is...
Yes, true. Because
it's going to be lobbyists.
You know what is interesting about Netflix? Netflix, get your shit together. Just please get your shit together. Every week I get a thing from Netflix saying, "Hey, your information doesn't seem correct. We're turning your Netflix off. It's going to get turned off." And I'm like, I don't care. Turn my Netflix off. Well, Netflix, turn my shit off. I don't care. I don't watch your fucking wokeism. And every week I get the same thing. I'm like, why haven't you turned... And I'll go on there every now and search because,
Don't you pay for it?
Sometimes. No.
You don't have to pay for it?
I mean, I'm not paying for it.
Oh, okay.
And so I'll go on there every now and then and I'll look and I'll be like, yeah, I'm not watching that. I'm not watching that. I'm not watching that. And then every week they'll send me a thing saying, hey, sorry, but your payment information isn't correct. So we'll turn the motherfucking Netflix. I don't care.
Every month I see like a $280 bill for
I feel like it's a scam anyway.
For Dish Network. And I'm like, I haven't turned this TV on in 4 months. But they might bring Yellowstone back, so I better keep it, right? I'm waiting for Yellowstone or The Last of Us.
Yeah, The Last of Us. So I don't know. It's just, I think it's just ridiculous. I think the people who are in charge and write these laws, they have no idea what they're doing.
I think a lot of it's just
it's just like when they came out and they did an open vote on banning TikTok and they got crushed.
Did they get crushed?
They got fucking crushed because
so that's what the Restrict Act is supposed to be.
Because it becomes a First Amendment issue.
But it doesn't say in there. They're calling it the TikTok Act, right?
Yeah, but
it doesn't even say TikTok in it.
But even still,
it's a fucking Patriot
It's
Act.
a violation of the First Amendment. I do not see TikTok going anywhere. There's way too many. Here's the thing. There's while they pretend because again,
so TikTok's fucking up Facebook and
yes.
Instagram. That's what this is.
This is all about ad revenue.
Yeah.
But again, you have too many mothers. You have I'll say mothers of America, but you have too many Karens out there that are making money on TikTok. That if TikTok shuts down tomorrow, those representatives better watch out. Whoever votes for that shit, because they're going to be in deep shit because those Karens are very emotional, and emotional Karens vote emotionally.
OnlyFans.
Well, of course not, because they already did. They already did go after OnlyFans. OnlyFans.
That's what that $660
that's what those
threshold was.
That's what those IRS agents were for us to get, and so they're not going to go after. They're not going to go after mothers of America's daughters because they're showing their feet on TikTok, because those ladies are now paying taxes. So now that they're paying taxes, OnlyFans is okay, but
who the fuck is paying who's paying all these OnlyFans fucking accounts when there's porn everywhere?
I think it's more of a personal.
I think it is.
It's more of a because you can.
I think it's the modern day stripper, right?
Yeah, well, because with
we'll be in the club eating sandwiches.
With OnlyFans, John, you can be like, "Hey, Trisha, I'm going to send you my underwear. Will you put them on?" And she'll put your underwear on, or whatever. I'm gonna buy you some. I'm gonna buy you these shoes where it becomes a little more personal, which is, by the way, ladies, 100% more dangerous. Okay, it is 100% more dangerous that you are personally interacting with somebody, because we as men are crazy. We become emotionally attached to affection that you give us, even though your emotional attachment and your affection is fake because they're giving you money. We become attached to it and we think it's real. So don't get all booty busted when one of these creepers that you've been taking his money for the last 2 years and wearing his underwear and putting his shoes on shows up at your front doorstep in love with you. It's just the way it works.
That's what I was saying, right? So the drunk Marine is getting his $300 max limit out of the ATM to give to the chick.
Tiffany, again.
Yeah, because he thinks Tiffany's going to go home at the end of the night.
Yeah, no.
When really Tiffany knows he's getting kicked out of the club early because he's drunk.
Yeah, and not
and
only
then she's handing her money to her boyfriend who's there eating salads.
And really, Tiffany's probably a lesbian. So the truth of the matter, and I tell people this all the time, and people are like I usually tell women this because they don't understand that the truth of the matter is, if your man wants to go to a bar, you should be like, no, you can't go to a bar. But if he says, I want to go to a strip club, you should be like, here's some dollar bills, head off. He's not walking out of a strip club with a stripper.
No. It
just does not happen. It does not happen. Unless, of course, he has if your man is wearing a $30,000 watch, drives a fucking Porsche and whatever, then maybe. But your regular dude is not going to.
That's just because she's going to rob him.
Yeah, of course. Her boyfriend's actually going to rob him. That's just a. Girls that are in strip clubs are there to make money. They look at those men as a financial exchange. The reality is, as soon as you give a woman in a strip club money, you've no longer become anything other than an ATM. They're not making any connections with you. They don't give a shit about you, period. Even though they'll do small talk, they don't care. They're just trying to take more money out of the ATM. So they don't care. Now, if you go to a bar, if a man goes to a bar, there are girls there that are specifically looking to hook up with dudes. So again, would you rather have your man go to a strip club where he's just a financial ATM, or would you rather have him go to a bar where there's a bunch of hot chicks that want to bang him?
I've never pulled a chick out of a strip club.
What?
I've never pulled a chick out of a club either.
Well, she was.
I've never met a girl.
Where did you meet her?
Who? Amanda?
The girl that was handing you. The girl that was walking around the club doing lap dances and then handing the money right to you.
There's a few of them, but you're talking probably about Jennifer.
Yeah.
She walked in my shop.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I guess I never knew how.
She walked in her shop with her boyfriend.
I never knew how you met her.
She walked in because she was going down to buy something at the liquor store. She lived somewhere near there.
That was the weirdest experience. It was not a revelation. Like, can I tell this story?
Yeah.
About you and the.
Yeah.
It was not a revelation.
Pause. I gotta pee.
Okay, we're peeing. Okay. Anyways, we were talking about strip clubs, and I've always known that. I mean, the reality is, I've always known that a strip club is not you're not going to a strip club to hook up. It's just that's not what it's for. The truth of the matter is, a strip club is a great place to establish camaraderie between your mates, your friends.
Why?
Because it puts yourself and your friends in a high testosterone driven environment, and if you can ignore the event at hand and create a bonding experience with your mates or your friends,
Dude, it's too fucking loud. You can't even have.
It's
a
great. I implore anyone that wants to have a great time in a strip club that has nothing to do with strippers. You need to go with me and Travis Mitchell, and we will make sure that 20 years from now you'll be like, yep, that was a great time. It's just how you treat that environment. It took a long time to learn that because I was dumb and young at one point in time where I thought that going to the strip club was about. I thought that going to the strip club was about the girls when it's really not about the girls.
Did you just think your game was weak?
No. I mean, I knew that. I knew it's weird because I always knew that the girls were spoken for from a certain perspective, but I was going for my personal pleasure because of the girls. When in the reality is that's the dumb reason to go to a strip club because you're not getting any real connection where you can actually do real connection.
When I was in prison, there was a bunch of guys talking about strip clubs, and just jokingly, I just said, I won't ever step foot in a strip club again unless I own it. But I've said that many times since then, and I've not ever been in a strip club since. I don't think I've been in a strip club since I came home from prison. Yeah. And I think we even said it, like, unless I buy one, we're not going in there. And I mean, we've talked about opening a club or something, but I don't want to do that shit.
No, not even because I have a friend that is.
You think we have problems?
Is a DJ
problems with fucking employees now? Imagine dealing with drug addicts.
I have a friend who's a DJ, and he's been a DJ at Cheetahs in Vegas for as long as I've known the guy for 15 years.
I had a girlfriend that worked at Cheetahs in San Diego.
And he was a DJ, and, we would be like, must be cool hanging out, doing all, and he's like, it's the fucking worst place in the world. He goes, they're always fucking late. There's always a problem. The chicks are fighting he goes, it's exactly all the terrible things that you would think are actually going on in the club. But anyway, so
there's always a dispute of who wipes the pole, right?
Yeah, who wipes the pole?
New girl
who doesn't
wipe the pole, or the chick that just fucking smeared her cooter all over the pole supposed to wipe?
There's always drama.
They need a pole monkey.
Yeah, and but he did have the largest collection. He did have the largest collection of music I've ever seen in my life. Like he at one point he's like, yeah, I got all these songs. I asked him about some song. I can't remember who it was. System of the Down or some, I don't remember. And he's like, I got all of it. And I go, you got all their music? And he goes,
well, yeah, you used to be able to just download them on torrents.
He goes, he's like, I got all of it. And I go, you got all their music? And he goes, no. I have all the music. And I go, there's no way you got all the music. And I want to say he said at the time, this was 10 years ago. He's like, I think he said he had 4 terabytes of music, and this was before terabytes existed. I'm like, what's a terabyte?
I have 2 old iPods in my desk. They won't even power up, but a dude bought this iPod and put all this music on it and sent it to me. You could listen to it, I think it was a year, and not listen to all the music that was on it, and it was all rap.
And he said, I go, you got all that music? And I go, you use it at the club? He goes, no, I don't use it at the club. Then bitch, there's only like 4 songs those bitches even know. It's always the same songs over and over again.
Think about it now. If you were a 50-year-old dude working in a club, your employees are 18 to 25.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Probably. I'll bet. Yeah, probably 18 to 25, but more leaning towards the 18 frame. It's like, you know what it's exactly like? Running strippers at a strip club. It's exactly like having a Marine Corps rifle platoon. 18 to 25-year-olds.
Except way more emotional.
I don't know about way more emotional. I had some emotional Marines. Now, it was a different type of emotion. It was emotion mixed with testosterone, so they thought they were being
challenged.
They thought they would be, whenever they thought they were being challenged, they would use that. So anyways, but let's get back to the John story. So John meets this young lady who works at the local strip club, and the local strip club just happened to be outside the back gate of Camp Pendleton.
They called it the Purple People Eater.
Yeah, and they made some cash there. Like if you were a girl and you were on point, you could do some real damage.
Couple grand a night.
Easy, couple grand a night. So this place is like a semi horseshoe. It's like a semi horseshoe, and the horseshoe is kind of around the stage, and then out you have like tables and chairs that are close to the stage, and then you have like a little more boothish areas up behind those, and then it circles around to the back of the building. And and this particular, I don't know why we went. It doesn't make any sense why me and you both went to the strip. I understand why you went, but
because you were with me and I would take her dinner.
So we go to the strip club and I crowd the stage, because if you're not at the stage supporting your local college graduates, why are you even there?
Your local single moms.
Yeah, I'm at the stage. And John has sat in this big leather chair that is at the apex of the horseshoe, right? So it goes to this big, I don't know why they had that single chair there.
Because I could see that I had your back.
He's sitting in this chair, and this young lady is working the crowd. She's doing her thing. Now, no matter where you're at in the Purple Palace, you can see the leather chair. Like, it's not, if you're, because it's also the way out. The door is like right behind, it's off to the side, but it's right behind where this leather chair is. So you see that if you're anywhere in the building, and this young lady would work the horseshoe. She'd work the horseshoe, and when she was done, she would immediately walk over and hand this pile of cash to John, and John would take the cash and he'd put it in his pocket. Now, I'm not really paying attention to it, because there's young college graduates that need my singles, but it becomes so funny that all these dudes are waiting for her to make the loop, and they're up in the, a lot of them are up in the $20 a song seat, right? And so she keeps making this loop, and she keeps handing the money to John, and I'm like, man, how emasculating is that you're giving this girl this money because you feel like you have some sort of connection with her because she's rubbing your thigh, and then she walks over and hands it to the dude that you can see in the room. Oh man, it was actually pretty comical. I did love it.
You see her do it. Like they'd talk for a minute or whatever, and they'd get up and go to the ATM.
Yeah,
pull out 100. You see them do it 2-3 times, right? So they've hit their max or whatever, and they can't get any more money.
And then she just walks on by. Because let's be clear. For anybody who doesn't understand what I'm telling you, a strip club is a financial exchange. It's all about the money. You feel like you're getting some sort of attention, but the problem is the attention that you're getting is not real. It's not real attention. It's completely fake. And so if you don't treat it in that manner, you can get sucked into the idea that somehow this young lady gives a shit about what you ate for dinner or how your workday went.
Well, that's much how social media is.
Yeah, it's 100% how social media is.
When you see influencer people, more girls than men, because I click on they have like their mini links or whatever, right? Because I'm curious how they're making money. And you see dudes have different things than girls have. Girls always have an Amazon link, and it takes you to her Amazon store, and she has populated it with things that she wants, and dudes buy that shit. Yeah. And then she makes a video. Hey, thanks, Bob. And she's got this thing, right? And I don't know how many dudes actually buy that, but there's enough there that these girls have these quite large populated stores. And then they've got the OnlyFans, and I guess there's a bunch of things like OnlyFans. Amanda was telling me one that's for feet. I don't remember what it's called, but
Yeah, there's a whole feet underground
Yeah.
where you can get pictures of feet. And the only reason why I know about it is because there's this hillbilly, like total redneck hillbilly guy who does a whole stick about how he went and got his toenails painted and got himself a OnlyFans and shaved all the hair on his ankles.
Yeah,
so
could you imagine
I got little pretty girl feet and all these men are paying me money for that's where I got this new Cadillac, and it's just hilarious.
Could you imagine doing that for a year and then coming out that it actually is a dude all these guys are watching?
I think, this is what I think. I think that if Brandel spent a year looking at my feet, like if I prettied up my feet and he spent a year looking at my feet.
You'd be like episode 2 of, what was it?
Episode
The Last
2,
of Us.
The Last of Us. I think if Brandel spent a year looking at my feet, and then after the year, I'm like, here's my hairy ankle, dude.
He could see through it.
I'm really scully, and I'm not twinkle toes like you thought.
I'm not Brenda.
I think in that world, I'm just going to say the foot world, I think he's not going to care. I think he's going to be like, are you going to wear the pink socks this week? Because I really like the pink socks. You know what I'm saying? I think in the foot world, I think if you busted something like that out, if you're like, here's a picture of my sweet feet and my dong, that the guy would be like, hey, he'd probably be like,
can you tuck
more?
it in?
Yeah, more toe action, less dong. I bet that's how the feet world works. I'm sure that they really don't care whether it's. I mean, yeah, you don't want a big hairy toe, but you want some femme feet. And if the femme feet happen to be on some dude from, West Virginia, then it's all right.
All right. Back to the M1 Grand.
Oh, back to the M1 Grand. What about it?
Collapse of society.
Collapse of society.
Most people aren't prepared.
Most people aren't prepared.
Do you think it's safe to say that most people, though, by this time in the United States own an AR-15?
Most people own an AR-15.
But they probably don't have a heavier battle rifle.
Probably don't have a heavier battle rifle.
So right now, is it cost effective still to buy an M1 Grand?
Yeah, you can still. I mean, compared to any other battle rifle, so compared to an FAL, compared to a SCAR, they're relatively cheap.
Okay.
Yeah, relatively cheap.
So if you wanted to add something to your arsenal that could punch through car doors and light steel and stuff like that, because there still is.
Unlike, I will say this, unlike your 308 battle rifles, unless you do some stuff, and I'm not going to tell you what, but unless you do some stuff, you can still get 30-06 AP.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
so that's where I was going, because there still is black tip.
Yeah, you can still get black tip
available, right? And it comes in a can, or how does it come?
It comes in bandoliers, but usually, because it's become such a commodity, usually the fucking dealers break it up and they sell it in like 5-round packs and shit like that at the gun show.
$1 a round or more?
Oh no, I'll bet it's $2 a round, probably.
Is there 30-06 tracer?
There is 30-06 tracer. Yeah.
Does it fuck your gun up?
No.
Okay, so that's where I was going, right? You've got an AR, you've got a pistol probably, you've been storing some water and food or whatever. You could theoretically add this rifle and get a bunch of clips, right? This is one of the few guns when you say clip, it actually takes a clip. And they're semi-automatic and they hold 8 rounds. We had some outstanding orders for M1 Grand rigs, and we built some this week. This is a Woodland one sitting here on the table.
It's actually upside down.
And we've got a run of multicam going right now. By the time you see this video, most likely these will be sold out. But we are filming today after this. We're filming a video of this. And we've just been, as we build items that we haven't built in a while, we've been shooting short form content and embedding them on our website so that there's a video of it. The ones on the bottom come out the bottom because they'll interfere with the ones in the top, and then the ones in the top come out the top. But they come out very easily once you open that pocket. They come right into your hand.
I'm going to say this.
Say it.
I'm going to say this because I love doing gun stuff because I love my gun stuff. But you know what you really should do? You really should do it, and I think he should do it too. I really think he should do it.
Who?
I think what we really need is we need Chris Costa
to do M1 Grand.
To do Chris Costa M1 Grand speed reloads out of this rig. I bet he would be. I mean, I'm sure Chris is going to have to. He's going to have to warm up a little bit because I bet he hasn't messed with an M1 Garand in a while. But I'll bet he could do some pretty interesting things with an M1 Garand.
I think Chris could do like the cheerleader girls do, where when they dive out, they do the full X.
The full X?
I think while he's in full X, he could pull that clip out and load the gun before he hits the ground.
I feel like, okay, after watching some of his lever gun stuff.
He's pretty fucking fast on the lever. I've never seen him with an M1
I feel like
Chris, do you own an M1 Garand, Chris?
He's got to. He was in the Coast Guard, for Christ's sake. He's got to own an M1 Garand. I think they still
line launchers.
I think they still issue those in the Guard. I really do. You tell me, Chris, if I'm wrong. He's got to have an M1 Garand, but I actually feel like he could probably do like a ting last round, do a chest flex, have that clip fly up in there, grab it, and then push it in at the same time. I believe he could do it.
We'll get him over here.
I really think I would love to see Chris. I know it's crazy because you're like deep into Redwood Dead with the lever guns, but man, I would love to see you. I would love to see you run an M1 Garand. And if you've already done it, please forward that video to John. I'd love to see it.
So we're actually working on something for Chris right now. It's on the floor in there. It doesn't have anything.
Oh, okay, yeah. You told me about that last week.
So we're building those up right now. So we'll get Chris out here soon. And
yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be cool to see him because he's very tech. The reality is he's technical in everything he does, and so there would be I feel like there would be like he would do some weird technical thing that I wouldn't think about.
So I had hit him up years ago when we were talking about doing man camp, right? Him and Yeager and Pat Mack and all the guys. I said, I want to bring all the gun guys in that are the top in the industry, and I want to do something that has absolutely nothing to do with guns. And every one of them they were excited about it. They're like, yep, men, anytime. So we'll get him out and do some content that
what do you think Chris's non-gun thing is?
Well, he owns a ranch. Like he's got a ranch. He's got beautiful property, I think in Idaho and Wyoming maybe. I know he's got some badass razors. He invited me and Amanda to come out and do some stuff out at his place. He does a lot of razor and snow camping and shit. And then he's got those Expedition Unlimited vehicles. Like they built him a Dodge, and then he had a Tacoma, and I think he's in a Sprinter van now. So I think he does some like overlanding stuff. But
Diesel Sprinter van, way to go.
But I wanted to like just bring in a group of kids and teach them how to do the tie downs, right? And do you want to twist in your tie down? Do you not? How many loops should be on the tie down before it locks out?
Speaking of tie downs, have you seen the guy that does the tie down braking strength?
Yes.
Where he
does a bunch of different shit. Where he's like,
hey, a loop doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I see guys with big loads with a fucking twist in there. I'm like, hey. And they're like, no, it doesn't matter. But what I'm talking about, like when you're using a ratcheting strap, right? Immediately, I want to take all the slack out and start cranking. Well, you shouldn't do that. You want to actually get a few wraps on that spindle.
You're supposed to have 2 inches of bite, I think.
Yeah, so just things like that, right? Stuff kids don't know. How to change a tire, how to jumpstart a car.
How to change a tire. Randall, do you know how to change a tire? Wait a minute. Here's the more important question. No, I think I want to hit you with this, but I know your answer is going to be yes and the only reason why I say I know the answer is going to be yes is because of your dad. Because of what I've heard about your dad. You have changed a tire before, haven't you?
Many.
Yeah. I would, looking at you, I'd be like, he's never changed a tire before.
So dad was...
But knowing your dad, I'm like, not only has he changed a tire, I'll bet he's changed a tractor tire.
Dude,
I've never changed a tractor tire.
Dad was out of town and a fucking tree fell through the garage. Completely fucked up.
That's a lie. I changed all 4 tires on the Unimog, which is a tractor. So, but
what do you mean change? But did you take the tire off the rim?
Yes.
How?
At Wes's shop.
With a Sawzall?
No, with Wes's shop. It was a beast.
Do they have a cage?
I had the Unimog on blocks.
Do they have the cage?
Mexicans came in and stole all our tires. No.
Holy shit!
It was very interesting because
how many cans of starter fluid?
I'm not going to confirm or deny that they did that.
We didn't say where it was.
I just said it was at
You didn't say the
tire
name.
shop. Yes, I did. I said his name.
Okay.
Anyways,
so if you were going to do it, how many
first off,
cans might it take?
First off, when you're talking military vehicles, chances are, if you're talking about a used military vehicle, the tires that have been on that vehicle have probably been on there for 20 plus years.
They're concrete.
So
all the rubber has left the tire.
So they really like the rim they're on. So just getting them off the rim is a process.
It'd be cheaper to just buy new ones.
And then, no,
if you had to pay labor,
probably even not. The problem with military tires. There's no military tires around here, so everything has to be shipped in. And when you're talking about shipping tires, forget about it. It was cheap.
Just run 37s. I got 20 of them.
It was literally, John. It was literally cheaper, which makes no sense, for me to drive to Wisconsin and pick up those tires, put them in my truck, and drive home than it would have been to ship them.
I got a dude that'll drive across the United States in a Sprinter van, and he'll just deliver shit for you.
Sprinter van. He's got 4 tires. I needed 5. Anyways, so I call my good friend, and I'm like, hey, these are big tires. I've never done big tires.
But he's a farmer.
Yeah, he's a farmer.
Like
and he's
big farm stuff.
He's like, no problem. We'll just do it like this. And he sends me a video. And it's the starter fluid video. Starter fluid in there. Boom. They light it. Boom. The tire pops right onto the rim. And I'm like, I'm in my head again. I'm like, that's a tractor tire. It's not the same. These are military tires. This thing is a 25 ply, whatever. And it's not the same. So he's like, you can go here and he's going to handle it. It's going to get taken care of. So I go there, show up with all 4 tires or 5 tires and all my new tires. And I'm like, hey, here's the situation. And he's like, no problem. My guy get it. He'd take care of it. He got it. So he goes through like 5 cans of fluid.
Runs out.
Can't get this fucking tire to seat. And I'm like, okay, I knew this was going to be a problem. I paid a lot of money.
What's the difference? How does the military do it?
Sidewalls are, I don't know. Like in my head, here's the thing. Whenever you're talking about a military vehicle,
like the guard guys, we should be able to get one of them to do it.
Whenever
right?
I don't think so.
Why?
I don't think
because they can't.
The issue is legally they can't.
That's not what I'm talking about.
But I don't know if they would even do it.
Okay.
Because we're doing 2 things.
But they'll know how to do it.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I'm sure, yeah. Especially the guys here in Camden have the heavy vehicles.
Yeah.
They got to be able to do it there. So his guy can't get this thing to light. And so the boss comes out. And the boss is like, I'm going to make this happen. And he actually gets one to pop and stick in 3 shots with the flames. But it was one of those situations where my tires, and I felt bad.
The truck's on blocks. There was no option where it didn't work.
Truck's on blocks, and I felt bad because there was a point where the tires.
Did you drive the truck there?
No. I took all the tires. I blocked it up on the church and then took all the tires.
Got it.
And there was a point where I felt bad because like my 5 tires took over what was going on in the shop
for half a day.
Yeah, and so they finally got all 5 of them. I was surprised. Even the spare, he's like, there's a crease right here. He goes, the crease is right here, and I don't think it's going to seat. But then he was like, but I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it. And so he heated that spot up and then got it to seat. And it's all 5 tires are working great. And I've been doing some crazy shit in the truck. Little too tall. The tires are just like the tires are a little too big, but I'm pretty happy with them.
Doesn't that go bad sometimes?
What does?
When you're trying to seat tires, like don't guys get killed doing that?
Yes, I don't know if it's necessarily. I don't know. I mean, you'd have to ask somebody who does this all the time. I don't think that's the reason why
they have the cages and shit.
I don't think that's well, the cages is because of air pressure, right?
But rapid dumping air pressure. Right?
Don't
they use like a Tiger or something? That's what that thing's called. That dumps all the.
Yeah,
the
I don't
load.
think the reason why it is not approved is because people were getting killed. I think the reason why it's not approved is because it's the reality is it's a fucking EPA violation. You're spraying all that goddamn.
Yeah,
that's what I think. That's what it is.
The air cops.
I think that's what it is. Is that you're spraying all this, all this stuff and
but
lighting
they
it on
proved that
fire.
was horse shit. All that Aquanet ozone. It was all bullshit. They've already proved that. All right, so we're gonna run we're gonna have a chainsaw class here. I keep calling it a class. I don't really know what it's gonna be. It's gonna be presentations. We're gonna have some vendors in here. I got a friend that cuts trees for a living.
Are you going to bring trees in?
We're going to cut a couple standing trees here.
Oh, okay.
We're going to have the wood processors.
Be a good time to have somebody shimmy up there and get that 1,000-pound log that's just hanging there.
The last storm.
Did it knock it down?
Knocked it down.
Hit a fence?
Went right between I was so fucking lucky, man. It barely even touched the fence. Not even. And what touched the fence didn't even bend it.
Good.
Holy shit. But he's going to come in with a lot of equipment. We're going to show you saws, how to sharpen them, how to change out the fuel lines, do the carburetors, everything about a saw inside and out. And then, the saw you want versus the saw you need, what the applications are, realistic, how much saw do you need. We're going to have some electric saws out here. We're going to have gas saws out here. We're going to have different log splitters and different means to split logs. He's going to climb some trees, show you all that, how to fall the tree. You don't have to do all of this, but it's going to be there, and when you walk away, you're going to know what all the equipment was used for. We're going to provide lunch. There'll be on-site camping for this. We don't
Weekend?
we're going to do it on a Saturday. I don't have a solid date yet, but we're looking at 4 to 6 weeks. Where are we at right now? This, as we are talking, is April 12th.
Mid-April.
So
mid-April. Forgot.
We'll put it up. The availability. I don't have it all hashed out all the way. We're just kind of in the planning stages. But if this is something that interests you, I've been talking about on live. We've got about 30 dudes that have already said solidly, yes, I'm coming.
He's got that. When we were talking about that guy, the key ring.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen his chainsaw videos?
Yeah, he was a forestry service guy.
Yeah, he's got some good chain.
Yeah.
Like I saw one where he's just like,
his YouTube channel is like old.
Yeah, I seen some of his older stuff, but I never.
He has hired a new guy in the last year that's doing all that short form. Like when you see his thumbnails look the same, right? He's wearing the same uniform. Yeah, he's hired a good content company or something. He does good. Yeah, I like watching. I most like watching his. You want to make a cow trap? Yeah,
I like that. I'm like, I need a box of those. I don't know why, but
why don't you make some?
The reality is, as soon as I saw that video, I'm like, John has a piece of scrap just sitting right back here, but you got a piece like this big.
That's
I'm
why
like,
we keep all
that
of it.
would make perfect. That would make perfect cow traps.
Yeah, we don't throw away any metal.
Yeah, I don't either. I keep too much stuff.
Right on. So if you guys want to come out, you have that kind of on your radar. We'll announce something when there's solid dates on that, but that's coming soon.
Yep.
All right, guys. We are going to go eat lunch. We're going to sign off now. Leave them with something. Give them a sound bite.
I don't have anything.
Come on.
Not a thing.
Give them some hope. Something
Some
actionable.
hope?
Did you ever see a man cut an ear off?
Never.
How did you confirm your kills then?
Oh man, because we didn't even finish that story. There's no such thing as confirmed kills. It was only during Vietnam that they confirmed kills. That was so they could get R&R. After that, the program was dismissed. So if you hear anybody talking about how they have confirmed kills, they don't, especially snipers. Because for a sniper to get a confirmed kill in Vietnam, it had to be witnessed. It had to be witnessed either by an officer or staff NCO, and that was kind of rare that you were cruising around with officers and staff NCOs. So, there's no such thing. So, like, what's his name from Texas? Chris Kyle. Is that right? Chris Kyle?
Yeah.
When he says confirmed kills, there's no such thing. Now, could he have killed those people? Yes.
He might have had a camera through optics.
Even still, it's not a thing that they keep track of. So
would it be frowned upon if you showed back up at headquarters with a bunch of ears?
Yeah, it would be very frowned upon if you showed up.
Would you get in trouble or just a little bit chewed
out?
You'd
get in serious trouble.
Would they let you keep the ears afterwards?
Never. They never let you keep the ears. That's why you have to hide them.
If you put them all in a mason jar, you don't smell them.
True. But I can think of other things that you'd want to keep besides a piece of rotting flesh. I
What
mean,
would
that's
you keep?
it's kind of lame.
What would you keep?
It just depends. It depends on the. So it's kind of like a serial killer. Like if you're a serial killer,
But I'm just saying, I can go buy.
it depends on. But again, it
I can
depends on
go
a
buy
serial.
trinkets, but I mean, if you have a human ear,
No. It depends on if you're a serial killer. You understand this. It depends on the kill. Each kill, or each one of your kills, is going to have a different meaning. And what you want to do is you want to focus on the item that person has that brings you back that memory. A jar of ears is just a jar of ears, but if you have, if you have a rifle scope, or you have his wallet, or you have these things that can bring the memory back to you of how enjoyable it was to kill that person, then it's much better to get the trinket because it's your.
He's falling in love with.
we're talking about two different things.
No, I'm not falling in love
psycho.
with. Hey.
I'm just like,
I'm not falling in love with my kills. I am saying if you want to specifically bring back that memory, it's much better than a jar of ears, because a jar of ears is just a fucking jar of ears.
You could just take. I killed this man from a distance, and I took this pin off of him. Right? Somebody would be like, you could make that story up. But if I'm like, how many confirmed kills you have? 13. How do I know you have 13? Here's a jar with 13 ears.
It'd be 26 ears.